Things ain't looking too good for Billy Joe Saunders. You're watching Remstar Says So. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, please take the opportunity to subscribe. This is Remstar Says So. Let's get right into this. I don't really understand what's happening in the mind of Frank Warren and Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders was stripped or vacated, however he wants to put it, of his 160-pound middleweight WBO championship because of a so-called failed drug test in the United States or some BS like that. After Frank Warren lost a purse bid to Eddie Hearn and DAZN at Matchroom. Billy Joe Saunders then went and fought some absolute nobody at cruiserweight because he ballooned in weight and was supposed to fight Demetrius Andrade for a title shot as the mandatory. The reason why Billy Joe Saunders didn't take that fight is because when he was originally defending his belt as the champion, he was going to get 75% of the purse. This time around, Billy Joe Saunders was going to be the challenger, so he'd only be entitled to 25% of the purse. So Billy Joe Saunders decided to do the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life, and he decided he was going up to super middleweight um, to fight for what he believes to be the vacant WBO super middleweight belt. The only issue is that Billy Joe Saunders thought he was fighting for a belt that had never been vacated. I don't know who had put that through Billy Joe Saunders and Frank Warren's mindset, um, but the current WBO champion, Gilberto Ramirez, has not vacated his title. So Billy Joe Saunders is moving up to super middleweight to fight for which I can only deem to be seen as the mandatory spot against Shefat Isufi at the Wembley Arena next month in April. Now, I would expect Billy Joe Saunders, even though he's moving up in weight, to get through this fight comfortably, and I think it would be a good fight and do good numbers for BT Sports, whether it's on regular BT or if Frank Warren wants to sort of milk the fans and stick this one on pay-per-view, because we know that every single promoter, Tom, Dick, and Harry, is putting every fight they can on pay-per-view now, and just trying to milk the fans as much as they can for our 1999 or 1995, depending on how they price it. Now, the good thing about this fight is that, it will give Billy Joe Saunders some exposure to the super middleweight division. And, if he wins this fight, he'll most likely be named as the mandatory for the WBO championship. My only issue is that this fight doesn't make any sense because even if he becomes the mandatory, he'll probably fight and earn a lot less fighting Gilberto Ramirez than he would have fighting Demetrius Andrade. Yes, fair enough, the fight will probably stay on BT Sports and probably ESPN in America, but at the same time, you know, his pockets are going to take a huge dent. Um, I don't know if you want to call this bad management by Frank Warren or an oversight, or do you think Billy Joe Saunders was scared of Andrade? Do you think Andrade got the better of him and Andrade was going to win? When it came to the first fight between them before Billy Joe Saunders got stripped of his belt, I actually thought that Billy Joe Saunders was going to win on points. But maybe Billy Joe Saunders has lost his nerve a little bit. Maybe Billy Joe Saunders just thinks that it's too much risk for only 25% of the pot. I don't know. There could be a lot of different factors um, in this one. But what I do know is that this fight is pointless. The fight after will be pointless. Another thing is that Billy Joe Saunders, if he wins this, is putting himself into the mix of the super heavyweight, the super middleweight division. Um, and to be fair, he probably could knock off a couple of guys. So maybe this is quite tactical of Billy Joe. Imagine if Billy Joe Saunders goes and beats Shefat Isafiri, and then he goes on to beat Gilberto Ramirez. that could set up an IBO WBO unification fight with Chris Eubank Jr. Or what if Chris Eubank Jr. went and knocked off Anthony Durrell or Caleb Plant in between? That would make it even more tasty. Two proper world championship fights with the IBO pointless belt on the line as well, if Eubank hasn't vacated it by then. So there's lots of options. But I did really want to see Billy Joe Saunders staying down there. Apparently, Eddie Hearn has gone to Billy Joe Saunders and offered him put together a package for Billy Joe to go and fight on the Zone and Sky Sports. But Billy Joe Saunders has decided to be loyal to Frank Warren, who has guided his professional career from start until now. You cannot fault somebody for being loyal to the man who's always kept his best interest at heart. Yes, maybe Billy Joe Saunders' pockets might be a little bit deeper fighting for Matchroom on the Zone and Sky Sports, but I'm never going to fault a man for loyalty. I'm pretty sure if Billy Joe Saunders never threw a glove again, he wouldn't be short of a fiver, if you know what I mean. So yeah, what's your thoughts on this? Like, how could it have gone so wrong? Is this bad promotion by Frank Warren? How did he ever think that Gilberto Ramirez had vacated? I mean, I remember seeing an article about that, but surely if you're gonna go after this kind of fight, Frank Warren must have been having some sort of discussions with the WBO about this. Everybody knows that Frank Warren and the WBO are like Batty and Bench, so I don't know. Like on this occasion, I think he's got it wrong for his fighter. I think Billy Joe Saunders would have been better off going on for the Andrade fight, or even fighting Golovkin or something. But I think the biggest issue is that Frank Warren is just desperate to keep his fighters off of Sky Sports and DAZN as much as he physically can. So maybe that's the reason why they didn't go down the Sky Sports DAZN route. But you know, he's not fighting for a title now, and he had the opportunity to go and win his belt back. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Is this the right move for Billy Joe Saunders? Can he really forge out a career in super middleweight? Should he go back down to 160 and look to fight the likes of Golovkin, Andrade, Canelo, or Danny Jacobs? Hit like, hit subscribe, share this video. That's the end of the show because Remstar says so.